All right, hello and welcome back to the channel. So I wanted to go ahead and give you guys something interesting today. I hope you'll find this interesting. I came up with this. These are my top 10 things to do as a cybersecurity professional. So, or if you're interested in breaking into the industry. So these are not all-inclusive. This is not necessarily going to be an exact science. These are just things that I've noticed as trends in the industry, things that have worked for me and allowed me to be able to advance my career and also be able to be successful. Sometimes these things that are on this list, they were not necessarily easy. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm an expert in all things, end all be all of everything. I am a cloud ninja or a programming ninja or an IT ninja, although I consider myself to be pretty well read on just about everything IT, minus a few key areas where I'm just not an expert in, but I can generally converse with almost anybody. I can talk to anybody about IT, and I'm very passionate about learning. If I don't know something, then I will try my best to become an expert in a short amount of time. And that's what has allowed me to overcome maybe some of the gaps in knowledge. But you might say, Chris, well, what am I supposed to do about it's a pandemic right now? Well, it's a perfect time to break into the industry. And there are many different free resources that you can use to get into IT. You don't have to have a wealth of certifications or advanced degrees. You don't have to have pieces of paper that say that you're able to take a class and sit in a college class and take tests. Now, those things do help. They help you on resumes, but by no means are they the end-all be-all of how you get your foot in the door. So, and also some of these things will also be what I would like to call, they help you stay competitive. So now some people might say that, well, you know, I was told by this person or that person I had to have this certification to get that job. You know, you got to have CH, or you got to have Security Plus, or you got to have OSCP if you want to be an ethical hacker. No. These are not things that you need to yes, they're definitely goals, but a lot of it comes down to work ethic, your attitude, your passion, your drive. Do you look at a device like your smartphone and do you try and make it do other things? Maybe you have a device like the Raspberry Pi, which if I can figure out where I put mine, I would show you guys. But I plan on doing many different things, demos to help you guys get better acquainted, especially right now. And to me, this is the coolest thing about why we have this medium now, to talk to each other during the pandemic. IT is something that there are always going to be people that are considered essential. There's going to be people that manage servers. There's going to be data center people. There's going to be SOC analysts. There's going to be threat hunters. There's going to be penetration testers. There's going to be regular help desk personnel. Somebody has to fix the hardware. Someone's got to fill up the printer when the printer runs out of ink. So there's lots of different things you might be asked to do as a cybersecurity professional that you might say, well, it's not exactly like the most attractive thing. It's not hacking into the mainframe and making off with all the vital state secrets. But so these are the top 10 things I came up with. Of course, keep in mind that this may not be necessarily 100% gospel, but I've looked around many of the different surveys that come out, like Gartner and IDG and other things, and I've noticed these seem to be recurring themes. So keep in mind this is not all inclusive, but number one, certifications. So certifications are important. Again, I said they're not the end-all be-all, but they're a good way to advance your knowledge. So certifications, you know, like CompTIA, EC Council, ISC Squared, SANS, you know, there are many different certifications out there, and it's almost like a jungle out there. So don't think that you have to have one certification or one, you know, get multiple certifications if you can. Now, some certifications, you know, may be too expensive. Like there are some classes that are several thousands upon thousands of dollars, and they're just not something you want to do. Other people might have certifications that you're supposed to get because your employer told you to. and it's part of the contract, and you got to get this job, and you don't get the job, you're going to get fired, or you're going to get pulled off the contract and you're going to get sent home, or somebody else is going to get pulled in to take over your position. So I understand all those things. Number 2, learn Linux. Linux, there are tons and tons of things you can do with Linux. Linux is everywhere. For example, if we open up the Microsoft Store, we can actually go in here and we can see that Microsoft has kindly decided to allow Windows to run Linux. Amazing. Who would have thought that we would now be seeing Linux in the Microsoft Store? Now, I'm not going to say this is the best way to run Linux, but it is a way to run Linux. Even notice that they had the penetration testing distribution Kali Linux there. So there's Windows terminal, there are terminals upon terminals, so you can run a Linux terminal on your Windows machine. Amazing. So Linux will open lots of doors for you, but to many people Linux is scary, and that's okay. Learn command line. So what I mean by command line, when you open up your Windows prompt and you type CMD and you start performing tasks. So you type in commands like ipconfig to try and find out, or you want to ping something to see if it's operational. So learn how to work with your command line. Know how to, if you don't know what a command does, figure out the syntax. So that's also included with PowerShell. I include PowerShell on the command line because there are many different things that PowerShell can do for you. So PowerShell has commandlets, right? So PowerShell even has nice graphical interfaces that you can use to manipulate. Of course, you can run command line on Linux, Unix. If you have a Mac computer, you've already got a command line. And there are tons and tons of resources that are out there that help you learn Linux command line. Learn cloud. Well, if I haven't been clear on the proclivities for cloud, there are many different resources for cloud. You can go to cloud.google.com. You can get a free trial up to $300 in free credits. 20 different products. Now you got to put in a credit card number, but again, this is free resources. So free tier. So they basically, you can do containers, you can do virtual machines, you could do big data, you could do machine learning. If you want to train your machine, if you're a coder and you want to do machine learning, it's amazing the things you can get for free these days. And the time when everything seems more expensive and your dollar seems to go less and less, the cloud is one of those things that it's just amazing that you can find what you can find in the cloud. Same thing with Amazon. You want to find the free tier, there's some things that are always going to be free, and that's great. You can get 12 months of all these different types of services. Maybe you don't want to go with one of the big providers. What about Linode? Linode's been around actually longer than Amazon, and it's a cloud that is tailored to developers. What about DigitalOcean? So there are many different cloud providers. You may not even know about all these, and I'll put all these links in the description of the video as well. You can sign in and deploy all kinds of things, databases, servers. You can deploy, if you want to deploy a Minecraft server in the cloud, you can do that. If you want to deploy some type of web application, maybe you want to write a mobile application, all kinds of stuff you can do with the cloud. And all empowered by the command line. So if you understand Linux and you understand the command line, you can understand the cloud. I often say that the cloud is simply just virtualization with somebody else's hardware. If you understand virtualization, which we'll talk about in a minute, create a GitHub account. If you're not familiar with GitHub, GitHub is owned by Microsoft. GitHub is a code repository. You can actually start learning GitHub without knowing any code at all. You can actually create your own Hello World app, create a repository, and it walks you through step by step. You don't have to do anything. But what else does GitHub have for you besides code? Well, you can type in cybersecurity, and you can find all kinds of resources. You can find tools. This one is says CISA Gov. How to run. So there are many free repositories out there that provide all kinds of resources. Python, JavaScript, Jupyter Notebook, wikis, wiki pages. You can find links upon links of cybersecurity resources. Many schools now use GitHub for their learning because it's a place to provide information. So it's targeted towards developers, but it's not required, and it's free, and you can connect GitHub to a great many other things. So what about GitHub? Attend a cybersecurity conference. Well, of course, these are things that are more difficult these days thanks to COVID, but a lot of the developer conferences, Black Hat, DEF CON, they did their first virtual conferences. So we have coming up not too long from now, spring trainings. We have Black Hat USA, usually in the summertime. So start the planning now. Maybe by then it won't be virtual and you'll be able to actually go to one. What about DEF CON? So DEF CON, another conference, and you can go see, once the conferences happen, they post a lot of their research and papers and information. So you can get all kinds of education here just from following one of these sites. There's also, of course, RSA conference, which is a pretty popular place for security-minded people to talk. So lots of different sessions. So virtual experience, May 17th to May 20th, 2021. So you can find the different topics that were discussed, everything from mobile and Internet of Things. So it's a great time to be in security and cybersecurity because there's just so much out there. Number 7, always be learning. So this is something that a lot of the older cybersecurity folks may struggle with. Now it's tough to learn a new skill, you know, and there's not always training budgets, and your boss is always asking you to do more with less, and they never give you enough time to do the job, it seems. So try to always be learning, even if you spend 5-10 minutes a day just to learn some new skill or some new tool. And we may do a video just on that, how you can do that yourself. So give back to cybersecurity in some way. What does that mean? Well, share the information. You know, talk to people, talk to your family, talk to your friends. Maybe you got a family member that's struggling with a new phone they just bought at Christmas or over the holidays, and they don't know what to do with it. Or maybe they don't know anything about security and they need help securing their Facebook because their Facebook's just been hacked. Or they don't know what creating a good password means. So these are all things that you absolutely should do as a way to further yourself and to help others. So pay it forward. You know, help new people that are brand new to cybersecurity. Give them the knowledge that you have. If you're an expert and you're an IT ninja out there, go for it. So of course, be humble. I can't say enough things about being humble because these are things that it's difficult for many people to do. So be humble. You're not going to know everything. Even if you are the best at your job and what you do, you're not always going to know everything. And that's okay. So I recommend learning Kubernetes, containers, virtualization. So that's a lot, right? So a great place I like people to start with virtualization is VirtualBox. VirtualBox is a free virtualization solution. Basically, you can download a flavor of Linux and you can set up yourself your own environment to run multiple operating systems. You can see on my system, I've got VirtualBox running multiple things. I have some Linux, I have my hacking virtual machine, I have a intrusion detection system, I have my Windows servers. So I can run all that as virtual machines, and they're basically just, for all intents and purposes, they run as a regular computer. They look like a computer. They have a network interface card. They have an IP address. They can be on the network. So VirtualBox is a great place to get started with virtualization, besides the cloud. So what about containers? Well, containers are kind of a new thing, and they're not well known by some organizations, but Docker is a very popular technology for containers. What exactly is a container? Well, it's basically taking your software and putting it into a little box. You take your software and you put it into this little box here, like this. So you have your application, and then you have another application, and another, and then you have Docker. Well, what is Docker? Docker is basically the control engine for your containers. So Docker is a client you'll download to manage all your container functions. So Docker runs on the host operating system, which in my case is Windows, and then it runs on top of your infrastructure. It could be a server, but Docker lets you run things like applications. It lets you run operating systems. It lets you run a database as a container. One benefit of the containers is that it's much more lightweight than virtual machines. So containers are very popular by developers because it allows you to get up and running very easily without having to manage all the servers in the background. And there's all kinds of free training out there. So definitely check out Docker. There's other container platforms. Then you have Kubernetes, which is basically just a fancy word for saying orchestration. So what is Kubernetes versus Docker? Well, if you want to run things like microservices, so maybe you want to run something in Microsoft Azure, you want to run, so it's not really an either or. They're two different things, or they're two complementary things. So Kubernetes allows you to orchestrate your containers. Docker just enables you to run different containers. So we'll probably do some videos on virtualization, Kubernetes, containers, just so you can see more about what it is. But it's still amazing to me that this list keeps growing. Maybe it'll be top 20 things eventually. But right now, it's top 10. But I added one more: learn a scripting language, Python, PowerShell, or Ruby. Python is available for free. It comes standard on most Linux distributions. It is the language of choice for many security programs, many scripts. Can't say enough things about Python. We could do a whole class about it, but it's used for web development. It's used for scientific applications, calculations. It's used for software, system administration. You can automate tasks with Python. All kinds of neat stuff you can do. All you got to do is go here and you can click downloads. You can download it for Windows, Linux, Mac OS, many other applications. So Python version 2 is still around, although it is technically end of life. But version 3 is going to be the new future. So Python is a very powerful programming language. So I'm going to give you a resource here in a minute, a free resource where you can go and find out more about Python. So these are my top 10 things. Really, the be humble probably should be at the end, but I think humility is everywhere, so I moved it up a couple notches. So I hope this is beneficial for you guys. Now let's look at a couple other things. Resources. So I promise you some free resources, and I'm going to deliver. One, w3schools.com. I can't say enough great things about this website. It is literally one of my favorite sites for learning new programming languages, new tools, whether it's JavaScript, whether it's CSS, whether it's SQL, PHP, Python, Java. So if you want to learn Python, you can go in here and you can start learning Python right away. It has tutorials. You can literally try out the tutorial yourself. You can actually run the code. And it will run the code in a box for you. So you get to learn right along with the examples and the real world stuff. Linux Foundation training. These are a great website that has some free courses, some not free, but it's designed to mesh with some of the other initiatives like cloud and DevOps, big data. So what else? CIO.com. So it's a great site for tech news, analysis, blogs, all that kind of good stuff. So daily news, everything from interviewing to cybersecurity, hacking. They have a whole resource library. You can sign up for their insider newsletter. A lot of great stuff. They won't necessarily spam you. They're pretty good. Then we have CSO Online. They used to have this daily dashboard, and I can never find it anymore, but it is a great site for staying up on the latest vulnerabilities, hacks, breaches. So it's very similar to CIO. Then we have dark reading. So if you want to get up on the latest and greatest dark reading material, usually to do with offensive security or ethical hacking, all kinds of stuff here. So you can look at analytics, attacks, data breaches, so much stuff. So then we have CNET. Of course, CNET is kind of a technology channel, but it's good to see what the latest and greatest tech that's out there. Latest and greatest consumer devices, because those are the devices that end up having vulnerabilities. And then there is Threatpost. Threatpost is a great website for news, articles, latest, patches, bugs, all kind of stuff here. We may do some more articles, but these are some of the sites I use just about every day. HackRead and Hacker News. They're how when I'm having my morning coffee and I'm looking for something to go after, a target to go after, we've got HackRead. If you just type in hackernews.com or Hacker News, you get something different. But looky there, we were just talking about Docker and containers. Critical Docker container escape bug affects Microsoft Azure. So we have a proof of concept here. So usually these articles are really well written. They may reference other sites, but they'll have at least an example of an attack, so you can see things in real time. So Brian Krebs and Sectools.org. I've talked about Sectools in my Nmap video. Sectools is where you can get tons and tons of free tools for the taking. And then you have DistroWatch. DistroWatch.com. Put the fun back into computing. Well, if you love Linux like I do, there are so many different flavors of Linux. Like what? Over 100 top flavors right here of Linux. You can post in the comments what your favorite flavor of Linux is. I'm partial to Manjaro, but there are other Linux flavors that I really like as well, like Pop OS, just because of how clean it looks. So it's a great time to get into Linux, the cloud, all kinds of stuff at your disposal. I really hope that this video was interesting for you guys. I hope that you got a lot out of it. I hope that it was. Make sure that you go over to my YouTube channel, subscribe. You can go over here and you can. It's Techno Soldier Gaming, but again, I'm doing more tech stuff, so I may change up the logo at some point. But I do everything from gaming to all my tech videos, building my ethical hacking playlist. Let me know what you want to see me do on here. I'm trying to hit 100 subscribers, and then I want to hit 1,000 subscribers so I can start monetizing. Really, I'm doing this because I love sharing stuff with you guys. So that's what I really want to do. That's what I'm passionate about. I want to say thank you guys so much for watching. Follow me over on Twitter, Army Ninja Captain. Follow me on Facebook. I have a tech blog over there. It's the Chris Hefner Tech blog. Follow me over on Rumble at Tech Soldier. gaming. Also, so Rumble is a new one. Still kind of learning the platform, but Rumble, Techno Soldier Gaming. There's lots of cute little viral videos over there. So follow me on there, comment over there. Definitely want to engage as many of you as I can. If you're an IT professional and you want to share the knowledge, maybe you want to collaborate sometime, let's absolutely do it. So thanks so much, guys, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.